and the property. Whose property is it? Is it the town's? Is it Bob's? If it's Bob's property, that's a personal neighbor issue. If it's partially, I thought he paid taxes. I thought the deed was in his name. That's a neighbor-to-neighbor issue. That shouldn't have anything to do with you. I've said at many board meetings here and watch neighbors come with a problem to the town board, and the town board says, hey, that's neighbor-to-neighbor, there's nothing we can get. I'm speaking, excuse
I
me.
can answer that question for you.
I'm not talking to you.
The town was involved with it.
Mr. Burns, it is her time at the microphone.
Sure.
I just, as a taxpayer that has listened to this for years, I want to know whose property is it. And it shouldn't be costing the town anything if it's a private issue.
It's been costing the town quite a bit
And what, can you explain why?
due to the legal nature that I cannot discuss that, unfortunately. I wish I could. But I can tell you, I will answer your question based off of a court ruling. The property is Mr. Burns' property.
Okay. And last but not least,
Can I answer that question? Let me talk a little bit about this. This is a piece of property that I purchased from Rita Shum Estate. I paid for it, I had it surveyed, it was deeded in my name. And only because some, I was gonna say lowlife, but I won't say that. Some resident in
Look in the
town
mirror, buddy, look
that
in the
drives
mirror.
across this property without permission,
You
the
bought that
judge
property
made a
during a
ruling
lawsuit
that
I've
it's
been
his
using for
property,
30
which is
years.
fine.
You're
So we
misleading the
removed the
public.
barricade.
You are
Now, Mr. Burns,
misleading the
I'm
public
talking now,
again.
please.
Okay,
Misleading.
I paid for the property, I
He's
just
not
got
part of the town board. He's
doesn't matter.
not part of the town board. You don't, if he gets to talk, so would I. He's misleading
But yes,
the town.
I did buy the property.
Incorrect.
It
You're
was my
misleading.
property. I paid tax on the property for years. It was deeded to me.
You didn't own it.
ju-
You didn't know it.
Mr. Burns, I'm talking now, thank you. But the judge did make a ruling, so we removed the barricades, and you know what? You just gotta be careful when you got neighbors that squat on your property, because that's something that could happen to
so
anyone.
until the judge declared it his property, prior to that, the town was spending money assisting in your fight?
The town insurance company's attorney was spending the money. It was the town insurance
He
company.
created it.
It's no different than the end of Chestnut Lane, where I own 4 acres at the back of Chestnut Lane, where Mr. Burns demanded the town put barricades up from preventing me to get to my property at the end of Chestnut Lane.
I was around for all that, so.
Yes, same thing. And that will be resolved someday down the road.
I just implore, I'm almost done, implore all of you to look at the comparisons I sent you. The ones that are comparable with out of town, do not warrant that kind of salary, I'm sorry. And last but not least, could you please get Supervisor Gallo's picture up?
I've asked for that picture multiple times and I have not received it yet.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Hearing 6465 Kevington Place, Boston, New York. Just a couple of questions here. Supervisor, what is your justification for this massive increase? What additional duties are you going to perform for this 117% increase?
It's not additional duties, it's the additional time, and that was actually based off of hearing, listening to the public and the constituents, that when they had contacted the supervisor's office, historically speaking, that they were not reaching the supervisor, followed by with the current information that I've touched base on. There's a lot more that goes on to this. I'd be happy to go into detail, unless everybody wants to put out a long list. The situation I walked into this year is the reason that Drescher Malecki was brought on last year. It was brought on by the entire board. It was not brought on by just me. That compiles with, you're talking about Social Security benefits, you're talking about time cards, you're talking about a bunch of additional work. If I am not here, and to answer the question, that if I am working another job, and I have the luxury of time, which is why I offer my time for public service. But if I worked another job, if I'm not here, I'm not working for the people. This is my mindset, this is my opinion. We don't all have to agree, but this is where I'm coming from. You asked the question, I'm answering. So if I am here, I'm working for the people. I can engage with the bookkeeper, I can engage with the town clerk, I can engage with board members. The board members all have full-time jobs. I don't, and it's not that I need the salary, it's that the people have asked for representation. They've asked for somebody, when they contact the supervisor's office, that someone is actually there that they can speak to. I had a resident walk in, and today, I won't bring up names, but I had a resident walk in today and say that it was nice that they could walk into the supervisor's office and have somebody there that they could talk to other than the supervisor's secretary.
You do have a full-time secretary, correct?
Yes, I do.
And we do have 4 additional, throughout this administration, aren't there 4 people in full-time positions that were formerly part-time?
Or
4, well, you got a clerk that was part-time, that was assistant clerk that was part-time, now it's full-time. You got a secretary in your office that's full-time.
So the clerk's office, that was 2 part-time, which essentially was consolidated to 1 full-timer.
Or one full-time.
And if there was I can tell you that if the town had established a charitable reserve fund to state that the town clerk's office would need 1 full-timer, the town clerk's office alone would need potentially 2. That is a fact. Then for the bookkeeper, supervisor, and, the secretary position, my decision would be to task my secretary and/or the bookkeeper with those additional duties for the charitable reserve fund. That didn't take place this year. Could it happen? That's depending on how New York State and the federal government continue to, they continue to spar over the validity of a charitable reserve.
What is this financial, Malecki's cost on the taxpayers of this town?
This year to date is 93,000.
3,000?
Yep.
Now, is it also your policy to, when you hire people for positions in this administration, do you always look outside the town, or do you actually look for people inside the town that may be qualified?
It depends on the position that you're referring to.
Did you advertise for the bookkeeper's job that this person behind me obtained?
I did interview other people besides.
Was it advertised, or
It's an appointed position.
also, you don't look for people to?
What I will tell you, due to, there's a situation that's also legal of nature, I'm not trying to dodge your question, due to a certain scenario that the town is still in, I will tell you that it was the best interest of everybody in this room and every other taxpayer to bring somebody in that works for Drescher Malecki, which was not just this administration sitting up here right now. The past administration brought on Drescher Malecki after another bookkeeper had left. And it would not behoove anyone in this room or anyone in this town to bring somebody on to, whether they're a CPA or otherwise, to a situation that they would be walking in and have to pick up the ground where you would off-site a professional service. The professional service was on. I felt the position was the right fit based off of my interviews, and that's a decision I made. Again, people can judge me based off that is fine, but I can tell you that based off of what we're currently and still working on, and as I stated up there, that we probably have another solid 6 to 8 months worth of work on some of these other things due to what is there.
When they're done, probably about 150,000 or more to go pay this firm, roughly?
I don't. 150
Yeah,
when we're
92
done.
yeah,
We're already at
92,000.
100,000.
Yeah.
In the budget, there's an additional 50, so yes, you're looking at probably about 100. So, and I'm not saying that we're going to use it the whole time. It depends on what myself and the bookkeeper can work on. On the upper end, to answer your question, yeah, I'd say around $150,000. If you fully use what's in the budget, that would be okay.
And town attorney used to be a resident of the town, but now we go outside to Amherst and places like that. Is there where we look for our town attorneys?
Actually, that was a board decision, and that board decision was based on, again, again, this is, I will certainly go out on the edge and state that this was my recommendation to the town based off of current past historical events. I can tell you that going out knocking on doors and listening to the public and to the people, and in addition to the political environment, I thought it was a right move to go outside of the town, yes, based off the candidates that were there, and I felt that that would provide an unbiased opinion and based off of the area of law that our current attorney for the town practices in.
Basically, three-year councilmen and women were elected but unopposed, correct? So really, it was just a choice of the political leaders that appointed them. Plus, in your case, you ran unopposed this going to the Sun, though there were 1,000 people in this town that actually voted against you. So it's kind
People
of
have the right to vote. That's our democratic process. People don't have to vote for me.
Just I want a clarification. Now, you said with this drainage situation, we didn't spend no money on drainage at all this year at the 18 Mile Creek. It was just with all the problems we had, there was no drainage money
I
spent?
can tell you that there has not been one phone call regarding 18 Mile Creek that's came into my office. Private property, yes, a town cannot expend taxpayer monies for the New York State Constitution on private property when it comes to
I
drainage.
can walk my backyard and see trees in that 18 Mile Creek that have been there since you guys have been in power. I don't understand.
18 Mile Creek is I don't disagree with what you're stating. I haven't had complaints. And then as far as to actually do that work, that would be something that we'd have to partner with the DEC on, to that protected water.
You didn't have any complaints, didn't I come to your office to talk about my basement constantly flooding? Was that?
That would actually be a private matter.
Okay, that was a private.
That's what I just stated.
Okay.
I'm stating the law. The law states all 5 board members on this board, what was done in the past was done in the past. I'm not going down the past, but what I can tell you is that going forward, New York State Constitution and Public Officers Law, a town board cannot expend taxpayer money that benefits a private property. That is a matter of law. That is not my personal opinion.
So there will be a program to do some of the 18 Mile Creek cleanup, or is that just?
I have that, if you would like to see it, Mr. Guerrero.
I just want to know if that's going to actually happen.
I
A lot of things are said, but I actually want to know if it's going to happen.
Here's what I can tell you. So the drainage improvement plan, I'll state, the drainage improvement plan is currently in place in Victor, New York. It's currently, it serves the entire municipal board, everything within inside the municipal borders, and it channels their water to what they need. Again, our town is unique in the fact that based off of our topography. We all know this. You have 2 hills, you have a valley. It has to be worked from essentially the creek bed up. It doesn't make sense to start at the top of the hill down. Obviously, there's always going to be the counter argument from the tax-paying resident. Why am I, having money spent on something that doesn't necessarily impact me? Well, the money comes from the top of the hill and it comes down. There's different mindsets on this, but again, we can always get into a debate on whether or not that's the right avenue. To answer your question straight out, is this something that I want to accomplish? Absolutely, it is. It's called a drainage improvement plan. It's something I'm going to bring in front of the board, and if it's something that the board agrees with me on, then absolutely.
And based on Mrs. Kemper about salary and all the stuff she mentioned with the salary and the additional expenses, if you get this increase, you're basically approaching what a state senator gets, and that's kind of ridiculous.
Okay.
Mike Reedy from 5595 Johns Terrace. You've stated that we have considerable deficiencies in funding for a lot of fiscal problems that we have within the town. And everybody in the town agrees taxes should be raised for fiscal repairs and new infrastructure. But 100% increase in salary is not something that people can agree with. And if people were to look forward at your 3-year plan, it would be $60,000 this year, $120,000 next year, $240,000 the 3rd year. Jason, we can't afford you.
I'll tell you, I would not do that to the taxpayer. I wouldn't.
Why are you doing it now?
Why am I doing it now?
Yeah.
Again, based off of a salary analysis countywide, that is what, this is a proposed budget. This is not set in stone. The budget gets passed, it gets voted on November 5th. This is a proposed budget. This is not, again, this is.
But look at the things Judy sent you. She pointed out the ones that are similar costs.
That's true.
Jason, you say you're working another job?
Am I working another job? No, I am not.
No, you're not working full-time,
Yes, I am, sir.
40 hours a week?
Plus 40 hours a week.
Okay.
And the board is not taking a raise this year to help additionally offset that salary increase.
Okay. Well,
That's what's proposed.
were you previously working part-time?
Since I moved into town, no, sir, I have.
Okay. Well, you knew what you were getting into,
Absolutely.
okay?
And I stated last year that I also felt that the position should be full-time.
In most of industry, a 10% increase means that you walked on water. A 20% increase, God don't even ask for that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Joanne Bonsack, 7130 Omphalos Road. I think what bothers the citizens of Boston is the optics. It's not that you don't work hard or don't deserve it, but wages aren't keeping up, but costs are going up. And for instance, if you make $15 an hour in the year 2018, buying power in the year 2000 it's only worth $12 and change. You can look it up on the labor statistics on the federal government. But here's the thing is, it's just the optics, because it's not that you don't work that time, because that last administration burnt us so bad, wasted so many thousands of dollars, got the town in lawsuits, that you have to fix it, and I agree. But maybe there's other ways of fixing that other than jumping so high. And I think that's what people are objecting to. Maybe give everybody else $1,000 more and work some more hours. I mean, you all work full-time, and I get that, but you also know that this wasn't a job you ran for, that you needed to put time here. So maybe each take on an extra 5 hours a week and get more money for doing that. But this huge jump is like, you know, sticker shock. And when you give sticker shock to the budgets of the previous administrations who spend thousands of dollars on certain things, and you can't even come up with it because of the loss, or there's the coal book hasn't been done since you said 64, and there's just so many other issues in this town that need to be addressed. And it's not, let's for instance, like this woman said, I'm sorry, I forget your name, but after 29 hours, write down all the hours that you put on and get paid for that until we can see, because this situation in town isn't going to last for the future. It will because of your hard work, it will rectify itself. But who's to say with a town of, what, 8,200 people, that it's going to have to be this way in the future? So I think it's the sticker shock, and it is the optics. It really is the optics, because it's like, well, what the heck is what the heck's going on? For any of the budget, even for Mr. Telak, and I'm sure you did a good job, but you're getting another raise, and I'm not sure how many percentage you've gotten over the years, but you've gotten a decent wage in a full-time. It's just that people in this country, the average working family has $15,000 of credit card bills, and you can look it up. And the taxes go up, wages aren't going up, healthcare is going up, and you're now saying up to 15%. I think that's why people are so ticked off. And it's not that you're not doing a job, you could be doing the best job in the world. But give it to us gradually. I mean, if you're gonna screw us, do it gradually. Just not all at one time. Seriously. We can take that. It's just not, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we're gonna get you now. That's my opinion, and thank you very much.
Shane Quinlan, 6700 Leibler Road. I'd just like to make a couple comments, because I have been coming to a lot of meetings for a very long time, quite a few years. Everyone knows I record them all. I have been watching the state controller's report every year from 15 to 16 to 17 till now. I saw revenues going down. I don't know why, 16, 17. I see expenditures going up. I saw a train wreck coming. I saw an administration that kept this town's taxes flat for 8 years. I commend you guys for staying under the tax cap. I think it's the right choice. I like that, Jason, you decided to present this budget fully transparent 2 weeks before you're going to vote on it, because I haven't seen that done in 7 years that I've become here. This is the first time that this budget is going to be passed the right way. It's going to be presented, comments, 2 weeks from now you pass it, maybe little adjustments. And I have no comment on their salary. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Cox, 6550 Colonial Drive. Thanks for your time today. Really just have a-
Step up to the microphone.
I apologize for that. Just a couple,
Microphone is horrible.
couple of questions, actually. One is, what happens if the budget doesn't pass? What are the steps that happen if the budget, when it's voted on, doesn't pass? What happens next?
Well, actually, the budget has to be adopted by November 20th, according to state law.
So if it gets rejected,
Well, we have essentially, Mr. Quinlan, when he was stating, we have 2 weeks, it's actually 3, the way the calendar falls. So if you look at the calendar from tonight up until November 7th, it's actually roughly a 3-week window. And that's why, again, because it's a proposed budget, the board will take in the feedback from the community, make any necessary changes, and then have that discussion on November 7th. To answer your question, if it doesn't pass for whatever reason, then what would happen is that there would have to be a special meeting scheduled before November 20th. And the reason it's being passed this year on the 7th is because the next board meeting in November will be the 21st. So that's why we're passing it on the 7th, because that, by state law, that November 20th is that cutoff date.
okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
The other thing I'd like to ask is, I've heard the theme of Supervisor Keating, that you came into the job knowing what you were coming into. You ran on a certain platform. It was well known that this job is a part-time job. I still haven't heard clearly why it's needed, that compared to other towns this size, why you feel you need to have it become a full-time job. But I guess I would ask is, do you think that if you ran on a platform saying you were going to turn the supervisor job into a full-time job, you would have been elected?
You know, that's a good question, because I did bring it up last year at the budget hearing last year, and that was before the election. You know, as far, again, this is the public feedback. You know, this is what I guess I'll say what I'm looking for. The reason that I have extended the proposal, I guess I'll call it, for the position going full time is based off of public feedback. That when they contacted the supervisor's office, that they were not able to get a hold of the supervisor. If I am here Monday through Friday, you know, I have outside bearing meetings, etc. But if I'm here Monday through Friday, I'm here for the taxpayer.
Is it true that similar-sized towns in the area almost exclusively have part-time supervisors with a salary more in line with what you have now?
The closest town, like what this, I'd have to look at I think I have the budget.
Because if that was true, I'd question why we're so different than other towns of similar size and similar budgets.
So the last supervisor here for the town of Boston that was full-time, the position was a full-time position before, historically speaking. The last supervisor that held that position full-time was Dick Kennedy. So it was full-time at one point for this municipality, for the record.
1978, okay.
That's true, but I'm just stating.
Yeah,
But
sure,
it wasn't.
I appreciate the feedback. It's just unclear to me why the town of Boston, which I think is a special town and I love it, why we're so different than a town of a similar size and similar budget next door or other areas. Because when I buy a house, I look at comparables. When I do other things, I see what is everybody else doing? Why are we so different? And it seems to me that if maybe if it takes too much, if it's taking too much of your time, then I guess I don't understand why. When other towns, we all live in the same, a lot of towns live in this valley. So that's, you know, that's a question I guess I would have. I'm not sure why we're so different.
It's not that it's taking,
I guess what I heard was that you feel you need to spend more time here than.
I put in over 40 hours a week currently here.
I guess, back to my question is, why is the town of Boston so much different than other towns this size that have part-time and supervisors? They have a similar budget, they have similar emergency services, they have similar population, and it's not clear to me why we are different.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Brian Burton, 6556 Chestnut Lane. I'm going to go against the grain here, as I normally do. And let the public know, the people who come to this town board meeting like I have been almost every single one for 7, 8 years, maybe 6 years. that a full-time position supervisor is absolutely necessary in this town, regardless of its size. I would call, the last supervisor would never answer the phone, would never get back with me. Secretary made up excuses. Mr. Keating answers the phone. If he doesn't, his secretary does, and if she doesn't get back with me right away, he does every time. So the needs in this community are special regardless of its size because of a lot of the problems that go on due to the last administration, and certain current elected officials cause a lot of aggravation in my circumstance. So Mr. Keating's position in full-time is absolutely necessary in my opinion. He does a very good job. He answers the phone when you call, and I believe that he puts in 40 hours trying to straighten out the mess that has happened the last the last administration. He also did, in a board meeting before, request in the budget that the supervisor's position become full-time. So if the people were coming to these meetings and had heard him say that, they could have judged themselves before they elected him or didn't elect him, had they come to the board meetings and become involved, which they should more often. Thank you.
Len Harris, 7251 Boston State Road. Jason, you do a fine job, and the board does a wonderful job. Problem is going to be, if this becomes a full-time job, you're going to do a fine job. We understand that. What about the next person who walks in to take over your job and has a fantastic pay, and he's going to sit here and go, I'm doing fantastic for myself. Is the next guy going to be as good as you are, or should we keep it as a part-time job so that the next person is walking in for a paycheck, but is walking in to do the job?
Good evening. My name is Mike Willis. I live at 5598 James Drive. I've been a resident of the town since 1983. First of all, I hope you get the audio fixed in here for us people that have trouble hearing, because it's horrible. Second of all, I don't think the town of Boston is a cash cow. I don't think that we need the full-time positions. There must be some provision that states that if you work more than the 29 hours as specified, that you can put in for overtime, I'm assuming.
There's not.
There's not, okay.